Hello folks, this is our Whirlpool dryer, barely a couple years old, and it stopped heating. So I suspect it's something with the heating element, or at least the fuses that work on it to check for safety. So I opened it up. Let me just go over how to open it. I'll do a video closing it because I didn't take one on the open, but on the close you just have to reverse it. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm turning the dryer around because I don't want to take it down and up. It weighs a lot, and I have a stacked washer dryer combo here, and it's a real pain as a one-man job to try to get this thing down. So I found that I could turn it. It slides pretty easily about on top there. There are rubber feet to keep it from sliding, so it's a little pain, but you can turn it around. Basically, I took out the top part that goes, I turned the dryer around first of all, because I'm doing everything from the back. And I took out the top, which you can see right here. It just has a couple of screws holding it there, and it slides out. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, you can see, after I've turned the unit around, I'm unscrewing two screws at the top that hold the top panel in. It just slides right out. As soon as those two screws are removed, it just easily slides right out. And then you have access from the top to check into the dryer. And you'll have to disconnect some wires before you remove the back of the dryer. And the screws are like this. They're basically just hex tops like this, and I use a socket wrench, and let's see what size that is. It should say it on the actual piece. 1/4. Okay, 1/4 inch socket. So I unscrewed those two. This top piece just slid right out, and then the back was held in by a number of screws. You can see it went through a few parts of the cabinet here, all the way around. There was a couple here and one here, I believe, as well, or here. Okay, or here was it? Anyway, you'll see which ones are in the back. Do not remove this one, there's no need. That's what holds in the solenoid for the water. This is a steam version dryer, so it has this extra attachment for water input if needed. Basically just a solenoid and a tube going up here that spritzes some water into the drum. Okay, so at this point I've turned the dryer around, I've removed the top part, the panel with two screws, and now there are roughly 12 screws that go all the way around the back here. All but two are on the back side where I'm working now, and there are two at the top, which you'll see later when we reassemble. You should probably put in very early on to line things up. But essentially, we have 12 screws in total, 10 on the back and 2 on the top to remove the entire back panel. And then once that's done, you have access to get the panel off. But, see, I'm removing the top screws there. But you can't remove the back panel until you disconnect the power cord. See that big black thing hanging there? Onto the back. Okay, you can see the 3 cables there, white, black, and red. That connects from the power board in the dryer to the that large power cord at the back. That's what it should look like when you remove the back panel. So you disconnect those 3. As you can see there, I've disconnected those 3. And now the back panel should be ready to completely lift up and off and loosen up. So as you can see here, I've removed all of the screws, that cord connection, and the whole thing comes off. And there's a little cutout on the inside of the back panel, which conveniently has the shape of one of the power plug there. And you can just slide that right in there to make it easy to stash away so it's not dangling everywhere. So this is the entire back. That's the hole at the bottom for the exhaust. And this thing held in by a few screws around the outside. And again, it just slips right off. Okay, at this point, what you'll see me doing is removing the screw that holds the exhaust vent that goes into the back of the unit there, because it gives me more access to these wires. Those are the wires that connect up to the heating element there, where the coil and the heating housing is. And I took a picture before just so I could remember what they looked like. And you can see here this connection of I think there's 7 cables, 2, 2, and 3. So 7 cables in total. So now it's free, the cables are out, and lots of access to get in. Okay, at this point, we want to remove that piece there, those 3 screws, 2 there on the back, and there's 1 underneath there where the tongue is, slipped into that bracket. So you remove that screw. Once it's free from the bracket, you can slip that tongue out from underneath. And then once the back screws are out as well, the 2 back screws are out, in those 2 positions there and there, you can slide the whole thing out, and that contains the ducting, basically the coil housing with the ductwork. Now after that slips off, you're gonna see basically this. There are a couple extra things here. Now, what you don't see is there is the exhaust that comes out from this area here all the way through. And that's this. It's held in by 1 screw right there. That's held right at the very end. It's connecting essentially to a little hole here. Okay, and then the other thing that you're not seeing is the assembly for the heating element, which sits in here like this. And then like an L shape, it comes up like this and connects to here. And that's connected with these wires. There's 2 here going to some kind of a thermostat. Another one here, another going also to another thermostat, whatever, one of these cutoff fuses. And then this actually going to the heating element right there. So let me explain to you how that works. Okay, so now to take apart the coil and the duct assembly, you basically just have to pivot it. It's not held in by any screws or anything. It just sits in that groove, and then they come apart easily like that. To take the heating coil out, you slide it out from that housing, and it's a little hard to pull on, but you can pull it out. Now you're seeing a video of the new one being reversed, because I didn't film the old one being pulled out. What you're seeing here, this is the heating element. This is the actual, that part that bends into an L. So it connects in here like this, okay? And essentially that clamps into that thing you saw inside of the machine. I'll show you when I put it back together. And the heating element, those are, the thermostat fuses here that are connected here. And the heating element, this guy, okay, slides into here. Essentially, and it gets held in by 1 screw right here, which again I'll show you when I reassemble, but that screw holds in the heating element. This heating element, as you can see, part number W113445457, and it's barely a couple years old. It looks really burnt up. It appears to start to be cracking in a few places, like here. You can see it's cracked right there. And here, for sure cracked. See, there's a separation. And the element broke right here. You see? In this area here, broken. Now I could crimp these together and basically just make it work again, but they're pretty cheap online. I'm not sure how good the replacements last. And obviously, if it's as cheap as this piece, probably won't last very long either. Even the OEM part doesn't seem to last. But a replacement one is around $30, $40, sometimes even cheaper. So I figured I'll just buy a new one and slide it in. And when we get it in a couple days, I'll make a video showing how I assemble this all back together. But I noticed a lot of videos opening up the entire dryer from the front, pulling out the drum, taking out a whole bunch of stuff. I know there's some people that will say you can just take out the front kick plate down there, and then you should be able to access the element in here and slide it out. Of course, there's a stand here which is in the way, so this blocks you from removing it out that way. But you know, maybe you remove this thing, you're able to do it. But anyways, from the back, it's not very difficult. As long as you can access your dryer from the back and you can open it up, you really only need one tool, and that's a socket wrench, because everything is this hex, 1/4 inch hex. These 3 screws hold the that L-shaped piece here, you know, with the heating element and the conduit that comes up to cover this hole. But in any sense, that's all that's needed. Everything is a hex, a little 1/4 inch hex with a socket wrench, and that's it. Multimeter comes in handy just if you need to know whether your components are working. I'll check here just to show you that these parts still work. They should have continuity, but for sure my element didn't. When I checked the continuity or resistance of my element, I had it was open. I knew because it had broken, but I'll show you here. So when you test these guys, it should have continuity. See? And then here too, you should have continuity on this one as well. Okay, so that means that these parts are good. If not, same thing, 1/4 inch hex should be able to do it, to replace these parts. But I think they're good. It's just the element, and yeah, I wonder what other people have experienced with this. But in a few days, we'll get the replacement. I'll show you how to put it back together, and we'll go from there. Hey guys, I got the replacement coil, the heating coil here. You can see it's pretty much a drop-in replacement for the burnt out one. It doesn't have any branding at all. I mean, this one here, at least it says something on the side here. I think I saw a letter, some kind of thing inscribed on the metal. I can't see it right now. Oh, here. See, it says some kind of part number, 5400 watt, 240 volt ESP. On this one, it should be over in this corner. There's absolutely nothing written here, but it looks about the same configuration. As you can see, the same size. They have the same, you know, sort of coil structure and length, and this part here seems to be about the same position, although this is bent a little bit. I'm sure I could bend it back. But in essence, that's the replacement part. What I'm going to do next, just to be safe, is I'm going to check the resistance along this coil and this coil. I mean, this is burned. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to really get a good measurement, but I just want to make sure. The wire also seems pretty good. It's about the same thickness. I don't think it's any less, but we're going to go ahead and drop that back into the dryer. I'm going to film it, and if you just think about the steps in reverse, that's how you take everything apart. So let's start. Okay, I hooked up my multimeter here on resistance value, and if you hook it up to the new coil, I'm getting about 10 ohm resistance, roughly. And I tried to hook up the old one. Obviously, it's corroded, and even this contact, I'd have to really clean it up and crimp pieces together to get it to be continuous again. I don't want to bother. But if you do the math, you should find that, you know, with that resistance value, and remember, this does heat up and the resistance changes. So on a cold coil, I'm getting 10 ohm, but nichrome wire, when it heats up, will change resistance. So I can't really rely on this even. Okay, so the next part here is to get the coil into the housing. So you just basically line it up like this, and it slides in. This hole here is going to end up under here, and the screw is going to hold it together. Now, it is a little bit difficult to get it in, it slides in pretty easily up to there. And then you have to wedge it in the last little bit, being careful not to break any of the wires. So here we go. Almost there. Okay, still not there yet. You have to sometimes you go inside here, you see, and wiggle it a bit and try to straighten it up. And eventually this thing will seat so that the hole lines up. Almost there. It might need a little bit of percussive maintenance. No, we're almost there. Just a little more to go. Okay, we did it. You see? The hole is lined up right there. Doesn't have enough room there. I have to lift it up a bit. There. That's pretty much in. So now we're gonna screw this together, and that's sticking up like that. Okay? Okay, so this hole right here, this is where the screw goes in. So we're gonna get that in there. Just has to line up perfectly. So you gotta wiggle this a bit. Okay, so after a little adjustment, I got this thing right in here, the hole to line up. Screw goes in. Okay, and then we use our ratchet just to tighten this thing up. There it goes. And you should see it on the other end there, going through the hole. Seems to be fitting. It's a little bit tight, but it's going through. And then what we're gonna do is, before anything else, we're gonna test that the coil is not shorting to anything, and that we've got a good, the same 10 ohms across this, and that it's not touching the case anywhere, as you can see here, because we don't want it to short to the housing. Okay. Okay, so you can see here, we've got our roughly 9.8, 9.9 ohms across the element. And if we see if there's any shorts anywhere, here we'll just go to see continuous, nothing to the case, nothing to the case, case to case. So we're good, okay? Next step, we're gonna reassemble this together with the other piece over there that you see with the holes into one unit. It'll be like an L, and we'll mount it back on the dryer. Okay, so now we have to assemble this together. This round then goes into here, and you can see there's a little slot on the top. It goes into here, and then you have to find the right orientation, and then the bottom will sit inside there. Now we have this L-shaped piece, and this is gonna be inserted into the back of the dryer, and we're gonna screw it back in over there. I'm gonna just set up the tripod and the camera, and we'll try that. Okay, so this L-pieced housing and the little vent thing here is gonna fit here, down through here, and slide into here. There are 3 screws. One is going to go through this hole into the bottom, so because it sits on top of here. And then the other 2 are gonna hold it here, and I believe over here. So what you'll do is you put it up first and try to maybe stabilize it with these, and then fish in here and try to get that screw to go to the bottom. So we're gonna try that next, okay? Okay, so it turns out it's a little more tricky. You have to actually slide this tab from this support here through this slot and then the holes line up underneath like that, and then you can put the screw through here. So it doesn't just sit on the shelf. It has to be, you have to actually put this on first, get that tongue and groove there, and then you fasten these two bolts here and here before you can get the thing lined up. If you put those in first, you'll never be able to get this thing through the groove. So line the groove up first, slide it through, then hold it up, put those two screws, and then finally put this thing back. Okay? Let's do that now. I can hold this here. See if we can get it in. There we go. Okay, so I ratcheted in these two guys, there and there. As you can see, the screw has been placed through that tongue and groove hole right there. We have our connectors here. Now I took a picture of where these go. We have two that go to here. There's three that go here and two that go there. I mean, I'm not sure if it matters because most of these are just pass-throughs. They're not really polar. This might matter here. I know that the one with the white stripe went to the top, and then otherwise it's fine. But anyway, one more time, I'm gonna check the continuity here on this and make sure there's no shorts, to make sure nothing's touched when I inserted this. You can see the coil in there, and basically we'll get the back onto the unit. The back is over there on the ground. We'll get that back on and hook up the power, turn it around and see what happens. Okay, so that's what it's supposed to look like there. So let's get our camera positioned here. Okay, and we'll try to hook this up. So the back one here, looks like, let me just check that again. The purple on the bottom. So red on top. Purple on the bottom. Okay, the next one, the one with the white stripe on the top. This goes here. This goes in here. This on the bottom. Okay, and then finally purple on top, red on the bottom here. And here. Okay, so we have our wires there properly hooked up. I'm gonna once again check all of the values on this with the multimeter just to make sure nothing weird's going on. I forgot to mention we still have this part here that goes in. That's the our exhaust tube. So we're gonna put that in after, because that's going to line up with this hole and then come out to the back here. So everything lined up. Now we're going to get this thing back in here. And as you can see, at the very back, it's going to fit over this housing like that. And we're going to put a screw through this hole to hold on to it, you see? Right here. And it looks like it was this side right there. So let's get this in here. I'm gonna tighten that up in a bit, but basically it's like that. And then if we pull this out, sorry, we got our exhaust here, which will line up with the back casing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up that screw back there. You know, you don't really need to remove that, but you know, I wanted better access to this, and I took it out because it was easy. But if you feel like you can get your hands in here and pry all these wires off, which are tough because you have to use a screwdriver to get under here to pull them off. But if you have no problem, reaching, you don't need to take this part off. I would take it off anyway because I want to clean under here and I want to clean the tube and just get it all freshened up anyway. So I would take it out anyway. Okay, at this point, we're putting the back onto the dryer. Just line up the holes. There's some slots underneath at the bottom that it kind of fits into, and it just goes in there and you just start putting screws in. See, there's a slot here and here, kind of slides in behind. And then all these holes, you have lots of screws. You start putting them in one by one. I believe there's one here too. So there's a few in the middle of the cabinet also. You can put that one in first. Okay, I found all the screw holes. There are 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the two tricky ones, which I didn't realize, I forgot about them. And probably better to put them in first so it aligns the back. 11 and 12. So you're gonna put those in probably first. As soon as you tighten the bottom, that'll push the whole back end in and keep it. And then you tighten up all the other ones. Okay? And then what we're gonna do later is we're gonna hook up the electrical here, because we have the wires hanging loose here and they need to be hooked back in over here. Okay, these three cables right here, a white one and a black and red one, are coming from the plug. It goes down into there and then comes out here, okay? And what we want to do is now connect this up to this, which goes to the main board, okay? And they're the same colors. So otherwise, you can't remove the back. So you want to connect these back up, and basically there is a clip here which you can push back into here if you want to make it easier, or you can just pinch that out and it'll come out without breaking it. Okay, by the way, you see that cut on my arm? That's because a lot of this stuff is very sharp. It's easy to cut yourself on this, so be careful when you're working on the dryer. All these metal components are extremely sharp. Danger, electric shock hazard. Yes, also danger, you're gonna cut yourself on all the sharp metal bits. Anyway, let's hook these up. Okay, so these cables have now been connected. White with white, red with red, black with black. This clip is back in there, and it's all good to go. By the way, the unit features a nice cutout here. If you look there, there's a hole. So if you need to tuck your cable away, they conveniently made this opening, and you can just shove it in there and stow it away. Okay? So now all remains is to put the back on top. There are 2 screws, there, and we're gonna slide that on. By the way, before I close this thing, I just noticed on my drum here, you see that felt strip? Well, you'd expect it to be even everywhere. And when I rotate the drum here, which is a little bit difficult to rotate, but I got it. Here we go, it's turning carefully. Turning. You can see the strip is there. Come on. Yeah, keep going. Okay, still there. And then all of a sudden, we get past this red point here. I don't know what that is, some stitch, but look, it's very much chewed up in this section here. You see that? What happened to it? Like, this dryer is barely 2 years old. I have a gap from about here. You can see it's like, looks like lint, but it's not. It's actually this felt seal looks like it just got chewed up along this section. Here, let's keep turning. Oh, there. Right? It's like it's almost a quarter of this thing is chewed up. That's not good. I can see the model number there. Does it have a date code? No. There's a serial number. Doesn't show much in here. I'm not going to start opening the rest of this up to look. But yeah, this dryer is not that old. So I think at some point I'm going to end up having to replace this felt seal as well. Doesn't look that healthy. So it seems like they build these all pretty crappy and, you know, really upsetting and annoying that a brand new 2-year-old Maytag would look like this. And that has nothing to do with overheating or with the element. That wouldn't burn in that area like that. It just makes no sense. All right, time to put the top on this. Okay, so the top is sealed by this screw and by this screw. You can see it's together over here, sealed completely around. And that's it. Now to turn the dryer around. Plug it in and turn it on. the moment of truth. I'm gonna turn this thing on. It's all plugged in at the back, as you can see. Plugged in to the wall, plumbed in. It's a steam unit, so it has to have some cold water. And let's get it started. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's spinning. Let's turn off the lights here. Turn on the light in here. And if we go around the back of this thing, I mean, I can smell it and already see the heat, but if we look through this opening here, where is it? There it is. You can see it right there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at. Maybe a small crack inside of the element there, the inside of the casing, but that's it right there. Okay. In any case, I can tell that it's working because it's blowing hot air. All right. So that's it. Now I just have to hook up the rest of the thing here, and there you have it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit long, I know, but I wanted to show you the full process of turning the dryer around, taking the back and top off, and getting in there and putting it all back together. If you have a stacked laundry like this, that's probably the easiest way you're gonna be able to change this thing, because there's no way I'm taking that thing down if I have to change the anything on it to service it. Although the drum unit's going to be a bigger pain in the butt to try to change, but at least the heating element is a pretty easy fix once you know how to get in and out of this thing. And I mean, even though I sped up a few parts of the video, it doesn't take that long. Within an hour, you should be able to, you know, get a new part inserted, and as long as you have access. It took me most of the time just to open up the screws and close back the screws with my socket wrench. If you have a power one, it'll take 2 seconds to get in, replace what you need, and get out of there. And you could probably do it in 20 minutes, but at least you can see the process. So once again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and bye for now.